For more on this story, we can bring in Shirli Sitbon from our news desk. Shirli, thank you. You've been following all the developments for us here. So I just want to go ahead and start because I think we've had some more international reactions. So I just want to go ahead and start with that.
Yes, we've heard first, of course, right after these explosions, Colombia's President Petro, talking about this and condemning this. And we've also, since then, he said that Colombian troops have deployed to the Venezuelan border. Of course, the idea is probably that they want to defend Colombian territory just in case. We've heard various international comments. Let's look at the Europeans because, of course, in Europe, you have various voices. And when we look at the European Union, there are those who are not really taking a clear stand, but trying to follow this as much as possible. For example, when you look at Italy, Giorgia Meloni saying she's closely monitoring the situation in Venezuela with an aim of gathering information for the Italians who are there. So, not condemning this attack, just following, trying to understand what's happening. Of course, we have an idea of what's happening since Donald Trump and the Americans have said that they have attacked Venezuela this morning in specific sites, military sites, some strategic sites. They say areas where drugs are being produced, and that the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife have been captured and taken to the U.S., where the Americans are saying that they're going to try Nicolas Maduro. So we have an idea of what's happening, and this is confirmed also by the Venezuelans, since the vice president has said that they're demanding a proof of life from Nicolas Maduro, from the Americans. So that's what we know. So there are some elements. We have Belgium, who says they're trying to coordinate a response with the European partners, trying to meet later to have a clear stand on this. The Germans are saying that they're watching the situation with great concern. Meanwhile, Spain, France has not reacted yet. Some political parties have. The France en Bas party has said this is a kidnapping, it's a scandal, but the presidency has not reacted, nor the foreign ministry. Spain offers to mediate a peaceful solution in Venezuela. That's the situation of the Spaniards today. They offered to mediate in the crisis between the United States and Venezuela after the attacks. They're saying that they're calling for a de-escalation and restraint right away. Meanwhile, we've had reactions from Cuba, from Iran, also very quickly condemning the American attack, and Russia. The foreign ministry condemned the United States military action in Venezuela. They're saying that there's no tenable justification for the attack. It's ideological hostility which has prevailed over diplomacy, and that must remind that Venezuela is Russia's most important ally in South America. Is clearly condemning this attack, the foreign ministry. So those are some of the reactions we've seen since this morning. This happened, of course, 2 a.m. local time.
Thank you, Shirley. Stay with us. We're going to head now to Caracas and speak with journalist Noris Argotte Soto. Noris, thank you for staying with us on this developing story. So you're there in the capital, in Caracas. Since we've been speaking, a lot has happened. What's the mood like currently in Caracas?
Well, the mood is still confusion. There's still a lot of confusion. People are not sure of what to do. They're calling their families, trying to see if everybody is okay. We haven't heard of any civilian casualties as for now. Delcy Rodriguez said a while ago that some civilians had died, but we don't have confirmation of who they were or what amount of civilians died. But let's remember that these airstrikes happened in military facilities. So it's unlikely that there were civilians casualties, of course. People are in shock right now. They don't believe what's happening. They're trying to confirm, and they're writing, of course, to us, to the journalists, trying to see if Maduro was in fact captured. We don't know where is Delcy Rodriguez at the moment, which is the one should be taking power. Like I said in a previous intervention, in a normal situation, she would be the one who would be taking power at the moment. And if she cannot do it, it would be the president of the Congress of the National Assembly, in this case, his brother, Jorge Rodriguez, her brother, Jorge Rodriguez. So this is a very confusing situation for Venezuelans. We are calling on to be calm, to try not to be anxious and not going out on the streets, because we think that that's what the government would want. Either people protesting to explain a curfew or attacks on the civilian population, or people going out on the streets protesting to back them. But we still have to see what's gonna develop, what's gonna unfold in the coming hours.
Now, Noris, we've been talking a lot about what's been happening in Caracas, but there were strikes on other cities. What more details do you have about that?
Well, the same that happened in Caracas happened in the other cities. It was mostly military facilities. Like I said, La Guaira, which is another state nearby Caracas, but is another state. The main port was attacked. And there's not people out on the streets right now. It all happened very fast. It also happened in other states like in Miranda, in Higuerote. Some air bases were attacked. They say that also in Maracay, which has some of the other air bases, military air bases of the country. And of course, La Carlota, which is the main point in Caracas.
Now, as we had already discussed and you brought up, the Venezuelan government is asking for proof of life here for Maduro. The U.S. says he's going to be tried for his crimes. So, as the day unfolds, how do you think that's going to go over? What kind of reaction do you think the Venezuelan people will have to hear that he's going to be put on trial?
Well, I think that most Venezuelans are expecting that justice is served. Let's remember that he he doesn't only have drug trafficking charges in the U.S., but also he has an open file in the ICJ, in the International Court of Justice, for crimes against the humanity. So there's a lot of things to consider here. Most Venezuelans are expecting to see justice. Mostly the ones who were family, or even the political prisoners that he held into custody here and who died under their imprisonment in the hands of the government. So yes, people are expecting more response from the U.S.
Noris, thank you. Stay with us, please. I'm going to bring Shirli back in because I do want to follow up on that point for a moment. Maduro, the allegation is narco-terrorism. I mean, as Noris just said right here, he's got this charge from the U.S. government. But have we seen any proof to back that up yet?
Well, some of the sites that were hit overnight are believed to be sites where drugs are being produced. That was actually one of the areas that the Colombian president was talking about. But what the Americans are saying is that drugs are being taken through Venezuela and then are being shipped to the U.S. Illegally, and that's what they're trying to stop. That's why they say they've attacked all of these ships and boats since September. 35 such attacks and killing more than 115 people. The Americans are saying this is all in the war against drugs, and they're saying that's why they wanted the Venezuelan president to stop this, and in recent days just to step down, and then saying that they're going to take him down if this continues. So that's what the Americans have been saying. If they brought any proof when it comes to the people who have been killed in these boats, in these ships, there's not that much element. That's one of the criticism brought against the Americans, saying you can't just go killing people, striking boats without having concrete elements proving that all these people are involved. So yes, we're waiting for that, but there are drugs being taken through Venezuela and being brought and shipped to the United States and other areas. But some people are saying that it's not the massive part of the drugs being taken to the United States. It's only a small portion, and that's why some people are also saying that Donald Trump has other motives in this, and not just this is not just drug related, according to some critics and experts.
There's also been allegations that the U.S. is interested in Venezuela for its oil deposits. Isn't that one of the...
Yes, that's definitely what Nicolas Maduro has been saying in recent months and perhaps even forever. But yes, oil is extremely important. We all know that Venezuela is extremely rich in oil, and it has exported for many years. There have been sanctions against these exports, but it continues to export mainly to China. 80% of its oil is exported to China at low prices. And yes, the Americans do they want to take oil for take over Venezuela for its oil? That's the accusation. Are they trying to work against this legitimate, the fact that Venezuela wants to export so it can live, it can generate money, and so its citizens can have money, can live their lives? And are the Americans trying to press Venezuela as much as possible so the regime would stop sending drugs to the United States? The Americans are saying that Nicolas Maduro is at the heart of this system, that it's not just outside of his hands, and he's not acting against drug trafficking. They were saying he's at the heart of the drug trafficking. That's why they even said, that he's the ringleader in this. So yes, those are the American accusations. Of course, Nicolas Maduro says that all this is not linked to drug trafficking. And the Venezuelans have said in recent days they're ready to talk with the Americans about the drug trafficking. They're saying that they want to topple the regime. They're saying that the Americans want to seize Venezuela's oil.
Thank you, Shirley. We're going to head now back to Caracas, bring Noris back in. So, Noris, I want to ask you about the opposition. We've been talking a lot about this with Maduro allegedly out of the country in custody of the U.S. How popular was he before that? And is there an opportunity here, if the opposition plans properly, that they could step in at some future date and govern?
Well, I have been very clear on this matter. Venezuelans are very discontent for a long time, has been very discontent with Maduro's regime. The pressure on the economy is extreme. We're heading to a 600% inflation in the country, and that's one of the main drivers of the discontentment. And also the controls. The Maduro's regime has been controlling the population more and more every day, controlling their social media, their freedom of speech, imprisoning people who dared to talk against the government or dared to tweet about the situation of the U.S. Military deployment in the Caribbean. So yes, people are very, very discontent with this situation. I want to add something because I was listening to our other guest. One of the main theories that analysts and people have on this whole military deployment, it's not just the oil per se. Like Trump doesn't want the Venezuelan oil per se, or just topple Maduro because he wants to. We think that this is a clear message to Iran and to China, which are the biggest allies of Maduro, and vice versa. Maduro is one of their biggest allies in the region. So this is a clear message of the U.S. trying to regain control over the continent, right? Like very, very Monroe Doctrine, in a very Monroe Doctrine way. So this is one of the biggest theories that we have for everything that's happening. Not because Trump is like a very charitable person and wants to protect the Venezuelans. It's mostly because he wants to send a clear message to other regions.
Noris, thank you for that. And I'm going to bring Shirley back in. So you've heard what Noris had to say and your
absolutely.
thoughts.
And it's interesting to note that, just yesterday, we talked about the fact that Donald Trump was making similar statements towards Iran, not exactly the same ones, but saying that people are discontent in Iran protesting, and Donald Trump tweeted that if Iran kills some of the protesters, if protesters die in those marches, well, then the U.S. will intervene directly in Iran. So yes, what Nora's been saying is extremely right, that the fact that this is also a message for the Iranians. And the Supreme Leader is about to talk in Iran today, and perhaps he will mention what's happening in Venezuela.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out maybe hopefully a bit more at the press conference as to what Trump's strategy could be going forward, since he's involving himself in a lot of conflicts around the globe. I mean, he's also inserted himself in Africa in a conflict there, so it doesn't really seem like America first at this
Exactly.
point
That's what some of his
foreign policy.
first hour supporters, who really, they really liked his focus on U.S. politics, on U.S. domestic issues. This is exactly what they criticized, the fact that America used to intervene in foreign countries for various reasons. But MAGA supporters really wanted him to focus on U.S. issues, believing that even though there are explanations for various interventions abroad, this is not the goal, and they don't want U.S. dollars spent on this, and they really want him to focus on what's happening at home and inflation and other issues of the sort.
Noris, I want to head back to you because I want to ask a question about these drug boats. I mean, this was what was happening before this significant escalation. The U.S. was striking boats in the region that they said were bringing drugs from Venezuela that were tied to President Nicolas Maduro. So prior to what happened this early morning, what was the reaction in Venezuela to what the U.S. was doing?
Little opinion about that, because there was a lot of opacity towards this issue. I mean, the U.S. Was sending messages through their high officers, the higher officials, and Trump itself were saying that these were drug boats. And that's pretty much all we knew, because the government, the Maduro's regimes, was saying that these were arbitrary attacks against Venezuelans, and that they were only fishermen trying to do their job, to daily life, and they were innocent people. So it's a very complicated question to answer, because there was a lot of opacity towards this subject.
Right. And Noris, so is there any more? Is there been any proof to any allegations that have been brought against Maduro?
So far, we don't have any proof from the U.S., and this is what the other colleague was saying, and in other interventions here with you. One of the things that the Americans are most upset about is that they are spending a lot of money in this deployment in the U.S., but the government of or Trump's administration has been unable to actually present proof that Maduro is smuggling. Of course, this is a persistent rumor going on that he is the head of the cartel of Los Soles. And of course, most Venezuelan thinks that that's the case, that it's true, but there are not like tangible proofs that this is going on, that he is the head of this. It depends on how people are looking at it.
Thank you, Noris. I want to go back to Shirli. So we've gone over this idea of if we do need proof. I mean, Trump doesn't seem to be all that concerned. He seems to say, we're going to do this because I say we're going to do this. So in the days forward, do we expect that this is going to widen? I mean, is there a possibility of troops on the ground, or is this objective achieved?
I believe, I believe that he says that the objective is achieved, since from what we've seen in the tweet, from what we've heard from U.S. officials saying that this is basically over. There was a senator talking earlier, quoting Marco Rubio, and he said he anticipates no further action in Venezuela now that Maduro is in U.S. custody. I mean, and when you look at Donald Trump's message earlier on Truth Social, he was saying that this operation was successful, that Nicolas Maduro and his wife were captured. So it seemed like for Donald Trump, for the Americans, this phase, this military phase, this threat, this pressure, this capturing of Nicolas Maduro, this phase is over, and now they're waiting to see how things unravel on the ground. And we've talked about this earlier, the different options, and they're waiting to see perhaps how the opposition will react. The opposition, which has not reacted so far officially, from what I've seen, they're saying that they're still waiting for an official reaction. The opposition, some of them were in favor of pressure against Nicolas Maduro because in recent years there was repression against them. They were arrested. Many had to flee the country, and they believed that Venezuelans should be able to elect their leaders. So yes, they were in favor of some type of pressure against Nicolas Maduro. But what will happen now? I mean, the experts we've been talking to have said that it's possible that's what's left of the leadership in Venezuela, now that Nicolas Maduro is gone, they're going to discuss amongst themselves, saying what they're going to do. Are they going to find some kind of leader to take over? Who will that be? We still don't know. There are many options. Will the opposition be able to take over? We still don't know. I guess the Donald Trump administration is going to try and watch what's happening. But this is definitely, I mean, the words we've been saying, a fluid situation, an open door situation, an opportunity, very rare opportunity for the opposition. But the people still in power now in Venezuela, those who remain in place, will probably try and keep the situation under their control. We'll see what happens.
Thank you, Shirley. Noris, I want to bring you back in here. You heard what Shirley had to say, reporting there that the U.S. is basically saying objective achieved. They don't expect to continue carrying out strikes or to put boots on the ground. So I imagine that news might be somewhat reassuring. And we're also waiting for this press conference. So, what do you expect that we're going to hear when that happens later on today?
I think that this is only right. This is what we can expect, that the government achieve, that Trump achieving its goal to remove Maduro from power. They won't further attack Venezuela, and they would leave. I think that they will leave matters into our hands. They would leave it to us to resolve our own political situation, right? Because he has said so many times. He's not interested in how Venezuelans resolve their own issues. He was only interested in these drug allegations, and to send, like I said, a clear message to China and Iran that he's regaining control of South America, of the whole continent. So yes, we would, like our colleagues say, this will be a very fluid situation, and I think that there's not much left to do for the U.S. It's only the Venezuelans. We need to resolve our own situation. The leadership that's still available on the side of Nicolas Maduro, we need to see what steps they're going to take, and of course, we need to wait and see what Maria Corina Machado and Edmundo Gonzalez are going to do to seize this opportunity, to seize this opening, which we have rarely seen in the last 25 years since Chavez came into power, and then was continued by the Maduro's regime, right?
Yes, Noris, thank you so much for staying with us, sharing your analysis with us there. I hope everything stays well in Caracas. And Shirley, as well, thank you for staying on set with me, discussing all of this, following this developing story. It seems